Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas visiting with Margie Vogt. She is the PR coordinator of the Massillon Museum, and I think pretty much curator of all things Massillon. If you know Massillon and love Massillon, Margie is your gal. Good morning.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice. Good morning.
Well, let's start with the fact that you've got a few books out there. You have authored some really great history for all of us who love Massillon. Talk about those a little bit.
Thank you. Well, my first book was called 4th Street, A Century of History and Design, and that's about, it's photos and family stories about our most important historic neighborhood mansions. Just sometimes we call it Massillon Millionaires Row. Mm-hmm. So that's just a little paperback. And then my second book was Towpath to Towpath, but it's long sold out.
Yes.
And my most current book is called Massillon, Reflections of Community. I forget just how many pages. I think it's 270 pages, but there are exactly, by accident, 700 photos in it of historic Massillon.
Now, how is that different than, well, I suppose 4th Street focused only on 4th Street,
Just 4th
and
Street.
Reflections of a Community takes it beyond 4th Street?
It starts from the very beginnings of Kendall and the Spring Hill area, and then the beginnings of Massillon, downtown, people, sports, just anything you can think of, all the way through almost contemporary times. 2008.
You'd be so much fun to do this with, just to do that instant recollection. If I were to say favorite bakery.
Oh, that's easy. Lieberman's.
There you go. And
fifth generation since 1880.
Isn't that something? Orange drop cookies. Oh, my
absolutely.
gosh. I know. And memories of walking to Martha Galvin's dance studio right along there. And so much. For people who love Massillon, you are the person to have fun reminiscing with.
Oh, thank you.
Let's talk about 4th Street a little bit. Some people may not have ever driven along it, and some things to look for when they do.
Well, the most important thing to look for is Five Oaks, which is the home of the Massillon Women's Club. It's our iconic architectural site in Massillon. It was built in 1894, and it is absolutely a stunning stone mansion. It was designed by the man who designed many of the homes on Cleveland's Millionaires Row. So there are sculptures everywhere, and the wallpaper isn't wallpaper. It's gold leaf that's hand laid on the walls, and there are inscriptions and angels and the woodwork. Breathtaking.
You could not build it today. And I'm sure it was at least $1 million back then. I mean, I can't imagine building it back then, but
it was $200,000
is
at that
that
time.
all?
If you go on, they have calculators online that you can say, well, what today is $200,000 worth, and I've seen it anywhere from 20 to 43 million.
Oh my, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it is remarkable, and I think for fans of Downton Abbey, they would really enjoy just
You
kind
bet.
of playing Downton Abbey there for a little while. It's wonderful. What else do we find on 4th Street?
Well, one of the other things that most people know to look for is the Lillian Gish house, which we've gone from the largest house on the street to the smallest house on the street. It's just a sweet little 1845 residence. It really wasn't ever her house, though.
Who really lived there, and why do we call it Lillian Gish's home?
We thought that she bought it in the mid-1950s, but actually her slightly less famous sister, Dorothy, bought it.
Okay.
And that's where they stayed as adults when they came back to Massillon on rare and brief visits. But the only time Lillian actually owned it was after her death, because they forgot to transfer that property when Dorothy died to Lillian. So we still are going to call it the Lillian Gish house.
That's right. And Gish sisters, that
Yes,
counts. And if you wonder who
absolutely.
those are, just Google silent movies, Gish sisters, and there they are, Lillian and Dorothy.
Hundreds of films.
So amazing. All right. Well, let's get to your day job. That would be the Massillon Museum, and always so many exciting things. You have walks and talks that you do that are so fun. Tell us about some of those.
Actually, the walks are my personal thing, too. But I started them when I was at the museum full time. But I do several different walking tours. The first one this season will be of historic 4th Street on May 1st.
Oh, fun.
And that you don't even need a reservation. You just show up at tour time. That one happens to be at 2 o'clock on May 1st. And they're $7 a person. And they're almost always just exterior tours. Once in a blue moon, one of the neighbors will poke their head out and say, "Would you like to come in?" But that hasn't happened for at least a year, so don't count on it.
Okay, because I can think of an old uncle I had that had gargoyles on the outside of his name was Ed something. Yeah, Uncle Ed.
Uncle Ed. I had an Uncle Ed, too.
And the gargoyles. It was a scary house, but they're on 4th Street. But yeah, one of those incredible things to see.
Oh, we have. It's just a slow stroll. It takes about 2 hours, and we just answer questions and chat casually.
So fun. And where do you meet?
We meet right in front of Five Oaks because everybody can find that one at the
Sure.
corner of North and 4th.
Where else will you be taking us?
I love to take people into the Massillon Cemetery. I always wait until right after Memorial Day for that one, so the cemetery is in the best condition that it can
And
be.
decorated, probably.
And it's beautiful. Flags everywhere. You know, we have the Massillon VFW coordinates putting a flag at every veteran's grave in all the cemeteries in western Stark County. Huge job led by Terry Roan. And the cemetery is beautiful at that time, plus all the flowers. So, and it's mown at that time. So,
Who's buried there that's so interesting?
well, the McClymonds family, who built the Five Oaks mansion, Jacob Coxey. He's probably should be Massillon's most famous person. He ran for president twice, and he led the first protest march in the nation. So he's buried there. Yeah. Oh, Carolyn McCullough Everhard. She got Ohio women the right to vote in the 1890s.
Wow.
Not in national elections, but just think of it. We could vote in school elections and municipal elections that early. So let's see, who else? How can I haven't been in the cemetery for a little while. Jacob Hess, who decided not to go to the gold rush, and we are so lucky he stayed here because he was one of the founders of the Hess Snyder Company, a huge industry that kept us going.
So cool. When is that taking place?
The first cemetery tour is Sunday, June 5th, again at 2 o'clock. And I do several more in the spring. And
do you meet at the cemetery?
We meet right at the entrance to the cemetery.
Okay.
It's good if you park outside the cemetery because there are only a couple of spaces inside. And I'm just standing right inside the gate, waiting patiently.
Bring our $7, and there we go.
That's right.
Do you have a little square, or do we need cash?
No, you do need cash.
Okay.
I'm not that
Good to know.
progressive yet.
All right, just had to ask. All right, let's go inside the Massillon Museum. You've always got
Yes.
wonderful programs taking place. What's happening?
Oh, right now, our main floor, the main gallery, is filled with awesome photographs. And the word awesome is overused, but not in this case. You've all seen the photograph of the migrant mother from 1936. It's just the iconic picture of the Great Depression. We have a vintage print of that, along with a real print. This is not a copy.
Oh, my.
Along with photographs by other really famous artists like Alfred Stieglitz and Ansel Adams, a print that Ansel Adams made, not just one that has a poster been made of it. So that's a fabulous one. That's on loan to us from the Reading, Pennsylvania Museum. But to complement that, on the other side of the gallery, we have Massillon's Masters, and we have some really important photographs. For instance, Harry Callahan and Aaron Siskine are both internationally famous artists. And we have our own Nell Dorr from Massillon, who maybe it wasn't as famous as Ansel Adams, but internationally famous female photographer who grew up right beside where the museum is now.
In Massillon.
In Massillon.
So
an incredible photographer. So we have her things on view, and it's just they're mostly black and white photos, not all of them, but just an incredible.
Those are often the most interesting because of the use of shadow and light.
Yes, you really have to look and interpret. And then in the Studio M, which is in the lower level, we have another photo exhibition with photos that some people may be familiar with. Growing Season by Gary Harwood.
Yes.
It's the migrant worker project from 10 years ago. So this exhibit celebrates the 10th anniversary of that. So those are color photographs, incredible photographs.
And this is
text.
taking place through May 15th, so it's there now.
The main gallery is through May 15th. Gary's is only there through April 10th.
Okay.
So we need to
So
get
don't
there very quickly.
dilly-dally. Yes, all right. And just general information about Massillon Museum, hours of operation and cost and so forth.
Well, first of all, I'm proud to say that it's always free to
Wow.
visit the Massillon Museum.
Wow.
And we're open Tuesday through Saturday, 9:30 to 5, and Sunday, 2 to 5 every week. And also, I mean, there are other things to see there. One of my favorite exhibits right now is called Fashion Outlaws.
Tell us about that.
Isn't that a fun
That
title?
was the next thing I was going to ask you about.
It's when you step off the elevator onto the second floor, there are circles on the floor, and that shows you the diameter of ladies' skirts in different eras. And
Okay.
Brad Richardson, who teaches at Dreg, commented to me. He's on our board. He said that the biggest one is larger than his first pup tent.
No.
Now, if you can imagine, he may be, I'm sure he's close. It's huge.
Oh, my goodness.
And then we have the 1907 Jewel that was made in Massillon. And if you look at the size of that skirt and the size of the car, the Jewel,
There's no way to get in.
There's no way to get in. It's no wonder that they started those terrible jokes about women drivers. How could they drive?
Their skirts in the way. The hoop is up and covering their eyes.
Yes.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
That's just a great exhibit.
Is that taking place now?
That's on for a while yet, and there's no rush to get to that one. We also we have a football gallery, and it's for it's been rotating among different Paul Brown subjects.
Oh, Massillon favorite son.
You better believe it. And the current one is really important. It's Paul Brown and racial integration in Ohio football.
Interesting.
And he really did a lot. So it's a wonderful exhibit. And do I need to remind people that we always have the Immel Circus on display?
And the Immel Circus is so amazing and something everyone needs to see. But in case they have not, describe that if you can.
I haven't done a tour there myself for a long time, but I remember I think it's about 5,200 individually hand-carved circus figures, animals, people, carved by Dr. Robert Immel with his dental tools.
Yes.
Over a 50-year span.
Incredible.
It's about 100 square feet. It's a beautiful display, and it's a whole circus lot. And they're little vignettes. There's a sick zebra, and the vet's taking care of him, and you can see where a wagon caught on fire the night before, but they're repairing it. And there's a circus parade that goes around the perimeter. It's you could spend hours just looking at every little detail.
It is
and people do.
amazing. I saw it in his basement when I was
Yes.
still living, and how wonderful that it's now available at the Massillon Museum for all to see.
For everybody.
So cool. All right. Ooh, real quickly before we have to break, tell us a little bit about what might be coming up very shortly.
Oh, let's see. Coming up, we have... let's see. We have art. Oh, this is going to be a great exhibit. It's called Readapt, Artwork Inspired by the Permanent Collection. That opens on June 4th.
Okay.
And we've assigned several, I think it's 10 artists. They get to look at an object in the permanent collection, and then they make a work of art of their own that illustrates or reinterprets what they see in our collection.
Very cool.
And
We're going to have to take a break here real quickly. We'll be back with more about that permanent collection after these words. You're listening to Our Community.